Well, it will be recalled that ASUU actually went on an initial 4 weeks warning strike, which actually took effect from 14th February this year. Well, August this year, they extended the strike to be an indefinite one. And 7 months down the line, we are still on where we started from, as the industrial action is still on, and the National Industrial Court actually gave a verdict recently and asked the striking lecturers to return back to classwork. Well, we are looking at the impact of the lingering ASUU strike on Nigerian students this beautiful Thursday morning, and we are privileged to be joined by Bishop Austin Ibasai. He's a clergy and a political analyst. Bishop, good morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. And sitting very close to him is the Deputy Senate President of NAS. He is in person of Comrade Austin Imafidon. Comrade, good morning.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, welcome, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Bishop. Well, to some people, they feel the lingering ASUU strike is a national embarrassment, owing to the fact that it seems we've been going back and forth with the whole negotiation. What's your thought on that, Bishop?
It's not against him, because education is the beam and the pillar that builds society. And one of the responsibility of a responsive and responsible government is to make sure that education system is being powered and supported to be able to build a better society. A lot of people today that you see that are doing all kinds of things, if they are properly educated, they will have not be a menace to the society, because you cannot disconnect education from insecurity. If you are going to talk of an insecure environment, education play a role in every act of insecurity in any place. So it is a national embarrassment that we have leaders who criticize government of yesterday when there were strikes of 4 weeks, 8 weeks, and they are now back on board. You can see that the level of insincerity in the part of the government to deal with this issue. You can give you an example of all the kind of looting we are experiencing. We have the looting of 200 billion. We have we have that of 400,000 barrels of crude oil per day. Now, if this money are put together, and we have government that desire that education is a priority and is something that cannot be politicized or manipulated, because I could see level of manipulation. If you look at this lingering crisis, so many committees have been set up. Today we see committee for this, committee for that, on something that we can sit down a round table and take. We're going to the box stop at the table of Mr. President, because a few weeks ago, former President Jonathan said, when I had issues like this with ASUU, I sort it out in one night. Right. And we expected that after that kind of a statement from an elder statesman, we expected the president to have such to go ahead and fix it just the way somebody who have been on that terrain have been able to handle it. So, but at the end of the day, even the chancellor's meeting that was held, what was the outcome? I will get back to you on a matter that has been on ground for 7 months. There's a saying in my place that if you use 10 years to prepare for madness, when are you going to enter the market? When are you going to really enter the market? Now, the government is not sincere about dealing with ASUU, because if you are sincere, why you want to tell us you are appealing to them, you are back to court to be able to coerce them to return to classroom. I think that is not a way of dealing with any issue that has stayed too long than this. If you look at the style of the governance of our president, you see that the appointment of ministers, when he came on board, somebody who have tried about 12 years to pursue a particular position, we expected a blueprint. We expected the kind of persons he's going to work with. But you see, it took us almost 1 year for him to be able to elect ministers. And the ministers were old brigade, the old hand. Not that he brought some persons on board who are game changer, who are definitely going to make a paradigm shift from what we are used to. It was the same old brigade. Some of the ministers that came on board then, some of them were minister 1983 and so many things like that. Now, that is what we planned for almost 1 year to appoint them. Do you know what the kind of losses we went through then? It was a government of the permanent secretary, and people who supposed to be represented, each state supposed to have their representation on board and have their input. It took such a long time. So this foot dragging, I could see that 2023 is the target of politicians. Absolutely. And the issue of education does not matter to them. Now, one thing is a parable that when you don't have someone, you don't have somebody, we don't know the worth of that person. The question we ask ourselves is that our leaders today have their children graduating in foreign university, and even our president's wife have the children graduated in foreign university, and it was on social media. Now, I have 4 children who are undergraduate, who have been at home for 7 months, and this is the government of the people. Where are the voice of the people? The impact on we parents, the impact on lecturer, the impact on the society is very big. It's a bogus thing that you cannot, the effect. Do you know how many students that have taken to crime now? Do you know how many students that have had a change of their lifestyle by the virtue of this long crisis and strike that is avoidable, and we can deal with it? It is not something that we cannot shut out. I believe that the sincerity in the part of the government to deal with this issue is not there. If you are not educated, how will you value education? Because most of our leaders today, they don't have certificates, they don't have school, they only have classmates. So people that does not have the value, people that have not gone through the 4-1 of university to really know what it is, how do you think they will place value? Okay. What you don't have, you will not place value on it. And let's come back again. The ASUU themselves, we can see today that all the people in leadership, ASUU were the people that was used as returning officer, political this, political that. Some of them ate their cake then, and that is what they are facing now.
You can't eat your cake and have it.
Because we knew how they did the Osgabuyaya election, and they declared how many of them were settled because of election. And at the end of the day, we have seen the result now. Because when you put a seed on the ground, you expected a harvest with time. Okay. This is the harvest of what some of the professors did, that they knew in their conscience that they did not do well.
All right, Bishop, I'll get back to you now. Comrade Stephen, the NAS have carried out a lot of protests over the weeks, and we've seen national airports being crumbled down by the effect of your action. Do you think that's the right way to go to get the government's attention?
Thank you very much. Yeah. Quickly, I believe Nigeria, as of today, there is a generous phrase, we are the giant of Africa. I believe we need to begin to rephrase some of those concepts. Nigeria is a giant of underdevelopment.
You think so?
Yeah, Nigeria is a giant of lack of education funding. I believe you cannot blame the students for the action they've taken so far. If you check critically, the students that are the receiving end of this whole fight, the federal government, ASUU, we've been at home for over 7 months. Who pay for the losses once the strike is eventually cut off? These are questions that are begging for answers. I want to quickly tell you, sir, that our government are not sincere in the quest to fund education. If you check statistically, apart from South Sudan and Burundi, all the African countries fund education better than Nigeria. Where Nigeria is struggling to meet up with 7%, 6% on education in our education budget. That is far below UNESCO recommendation of funding education. And this tied to systemic failure, as hinted by our very bishop, said everybody is part of this problem of this country. The ASUU should also be very, very realistic with their demands at the case. I'm not holding brief for anybody. I'm not holding beef for
So are you
federal
saying ASUU is not being realistic with their
government. They are not
demand?
being realistic.
Are they not pushing this cost for the students too?
No,
Apart from the increment in salary.
Thank you very much. They are not pushing the cost for the students.
You think so?
If you check the demands of ASUU, their demands is neither salary increase, the need social thing. I've not really seen a strike that was called off by virtue of maybe hostels were not built, roads around campuses were not hard, the lecture rooms were not built. Immediately, federal government answer ASUU, the strike immediately will be cut off.
Answer ASUU in what aspect now? Because you just actually atomized some striking points here.
Over the time, in our academic curriculum, strike as one of the weapons of ASUU has become part of our academic curriculum. And this is the weapon that ASUU has been using over and over again. I would advise ASUU to change method of engagement. As educated as Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who signed the ASUU agreement in 2009, he was unable to meet up with the agreement. Not to talk of this failed leadership of.
No, you don't have to say that.
Thank you
That's
very
your
much.
opinion. It's not
It's my personal opinion. I want to say categorically that we the students, we are fighting for our own interest. Our interest is to ensure that students return back to campuses.
Okay, I'll get back to you, comrade, but let's come to you. Now, do you think ASUU at this point should shift ground?
I think ASUU have to, this is there's a parable that
they've come a long way, remember. They've come a long way.
Yeah.
7 months.
I think the issue has gone, on both sides now, there is ego. In the side of the federal government, there is ego on the side of ASUU. And I think that if there's a quarrel in a house, what is expected is that which area can we shift for one another? Because that is the best way to go. Now, if the federal government is talking of IPPS, UTAS, this is what we want to be, we want to transparently pay ourselves. I feel that federal government can just look into it. If you have academia and the academicians who are vibrant and they can design a method of payment, all what we need to go through is get some few civil servants that you know they are trustworthy, let them run through the test. Because we have seen now, even from the accountant generals looting and all the rest of them, that even the IPPS of the federal government were also compromised, the TSA compromised, to be able to get that 200 billion that was stolen. And the man is going around the street, nothing happens to him now. He wears agbada, he goes to court as if he's going for vacation, and nothing happened. So when we have this kind of thing, I think the government should look inward, and also the ASUU should look at the areas that they can shift ground, so that we, for the sake of our children, so that they can return back to school. I think that if you have a 7 demand, and we can be on a round table to sort out like 4 of them, because I believe that the system that ASUU is talking about, or system of payment, if the government peruse it, there is no perfect system on earth. If they peruse it, and this is a local content system that was put together by our own professors and people in the academic society, I think we should look into it and see that it will save us more of investing into a foreign means of where we have a capital flight, money lives here. We should look inward. We are talking of local content. If they have designed this platform, let some persons verify it, and let that system be monitored by some persons in government who will look into it, and we will be able to preserve some amount of money, because this is local content. It's not that the one that is given to foreign organization. We must look at it. We are almost bobbing our head online now and bobbing in other country. We believe so much that we have toothpick that is coming into our country, where we can even use chewing stick to do toothpick here. Now we should look inward. I am of the opinion that the government should look at it, that the system created by the ASUU, let some person peruse it. You can't have a perfect system. If you have something like 90% perfect system, let's go over it. If they can compromise the IPPS and use it to loot so much money like that, and it was not discovered anywhere, to the extent of having such humongous amount that can sort out problems.
But over time, they have checkmate the IPPIS, and they discovered some ghost workers, and that was unraveled recently.
Do you compare that one to 200 billion for one person? Do you compare that one on earth? Which country David Cameron said the kind of looting that is happening in Nigeria, if they have it in UK, that the country will cease to exist. We hear money, the kind of money that, why is it that our youth are now looking at education as a scam? When they discover that the kind of money that is being looted and nothing happened, that is the issue. When you have a porous system where somebody can sit down and take 200 billion, how do you convince investors that you have a tight system where if they put their investment in your country, it will be secure? When your own government can be talking of looting, if you have 200 billion, my brother, if you have 200 billion as you are sitting down here, you may not wear cloth again, because it's enough to make a man run mad. Now
you still wear clothes.
The issue is that you will not be yourself, because I imagine what a man can do with 200 billion in a country that is borrowing. And up till now, the government is borrowing. Even the government that is about doing validity service now is still asking for borrowing, as at yesterday, that everybody is carrying to the rooftop. Must we borrow ourselves out and borrow our future out? Everything has to do with borrow. This same government told us that they are recovering looted fund. How many of the looted fund have you seen? They told us they are going to publish the name. At the end of the day, they came up to tell us that they cannot shame anybody. They told us that they are going to tell us those who finance terrorism in Nigeria that was tracked by South Africa and other Dubai discovered about 7 Nigerians who were sponsoring terrorism. Our government today, the same CBN who can respond swiftly and shut the account of NSAS protester, that has not been able to track the account and the financier. The government have not come out to tell us that Mr. ABC, as they promised us, that they are going to mention the name of people that are sponsoring terrorism. Then where is the sincerity of this sitting government in this matter?
All right.
Now, because you are begging a man, you frustrated that you are appealing to an elderly man, and you give him a slap on your frustration. Now, that is what they have done to ASUU. But when you are sorting out a matter that you are dragging over it, and at the end of the day you went to court, you remember the Minister of State for Labour said he is ready to kneel down for ASUU to resume. After that kneeling down, they went to court, and at the end of the day, they have coerced ASUU to come back. What I'm saying is that on both sides, ASUU must be able to shift ground, because for the sake of our own children, to shift ground, and the government must be sincere to deal with the issue, not using court as a means of coercing them, or this is a kind of you can it's a fiat. Okay. And it is a military term. Okay. You don't do that in democracy. Okay. You sit down, one man's head cannot be better than the head of so many persons put together. Because when you have chancellor, everybody sat down, everybody brought their input. You say you want to think over it. For how long? If Buhari's children are in Uniben or they are in FUTA, would the man be foot dragging? But okay, we have seen his children doing graduation, because it is, I'm telling you, what is on the, they did the graduation, they put it. But the state government did the graduation of his own child, it was on the internet. Now what are they telling? They are telling us that people, and that's why even the 2023 election, the masses must wake up. That leaders that does not lead by example, they are not fit to be in position of leadership. Okay. Because if my children are at home for 7 months now, I am paying for them. The hostel I rented, everything, we are going to pay again by the time they call up the strike. Now, do you know what happened? Almost 1 year is already damaged in the destiny of generations that are going to sit in position of leadership. If
I'll get to you. We're talking about their destiny being damaged. Don't you think they can still recover it?
They can. When they go back to class? Is it all of them? Now, do you know that when you miss 1 minute, it might be difficult for you to recover it? Do you know how many of them have committed suicide within this period that has committed suicide in Uniben here, both students and staff? Now, do you know how many of them have become who they ought not to become by the virtue of not having anything to do? Some of them have built up a character that will even injure security of the nation in the nearest future. Some of them have designed a mindset by the virtue of being at home, and they could see governors, they could see president's wife, for everybody demonstrating that they are rejoicing with their own children outside the country. A leader that doesn't believe in their own country. Queen Elizabeth was sick and she died in her country. If it were here that a president that would like to die in UK, so that they can bring their corpse and even in grave their family can make money with their dead body.
Bishop.
That is it. I'm just telling you, the woman was sick. She was not taken to India. She didn't say fly me to UBTH. She stayed in her place. Doctors in her place took care of her. She died there. She was buried there gloriously. That is how to be a sincere leader. Not when you sneeze, you are outside the country. When you cough, you are outside the country. When something touch you, you are outside the country. Those countries you are going to, if they didn't build their own nation, where will you have gone to? Where is the sincerity? When the head is sick, Isaiah chapter 4 or 1 verse 1 and 5 said, when the head is sick, the whole system is sick.
Okay.
Because when you cannot patronize your own, you cannot patronize your own hospital. How do you explain? I remember when IBB wife went to put to bed. She did not put to bed in America. She put to bed as a wife of a sitting president of Nigeria in Nigeria hospital. And Nigerian doctors they took a delivery. That is how to be a sincere leader.
All right, Bishop.
Not you saying you are a president of a country and you invest into other country.
Okay, Bishop, I'll pause you at this point. Let's come to Comrade Stephen. Comrade Stephen, the national body of NAS actually said they are suspending the move to block the Abuja International Airport. And some people feel that body language is politically motivated. What did you make of that?
Fairly, that particular move was a very smart one. I believe the judgment of the industrial court is a win-win situation for we Nigerian students.
A win-win?
It's a win-win situation, right? Despite the judgment did not go down well with our tutors, our lecturers, as the case may be. But for we students, our fights, our agitations, is for us to return back to campus. The means and way we return back to campus is not our business, as the case may be. I'm sorry to use that particular language. But we must not look at the issue critically. The industrial court has given judgment. We have put a stop to our planned protest to study and understand the matter more better, as the case may be. I want to also say this, that the industrial court did not give a fair judgment. Why will you ask striking lecturer to return back to work without any succor, without mandating or advising the federal government to pay off what they are requesting for or meet up with any of their demands? There is already a lacuna in that particular judgment. But from the student angle, sir, we've been on strike for 7 months. Industrial court is telling us to return back to campus, as the case may be. I want to advise critically. I want to advise our tutors, our lecturers, that they have other means to seek redress. They can appeal the case. I believe the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of any particular matter. But as we speak, we want to advise them to return back to campus while negotiation continue.
Okay, it seems the NAS body, they are actually happy with the outcome of the court ruling.
Like what I say, it's a win-win situation.
But don't you think if this striking lecturer return back to class without their demands being met, an unhappy man might not deliver his job very well? Don't you think so?
Thank you very much. Since the onset of the strike, we have been appealing to ASUU to come back to campus. We have a reason for telling them to come back to campus.
So what are your reasons? Because
you need a collective effort to wage war against a government of oppressors.
So you mean they did carry you along?
I believe they were at a point in time where there were communication gap between the ASUU and the NAS and the student body, as the case will be. The communication was not flowing as it ought to be, as the case will be. We need to join synergy together. The ASUU and Nigeria students need to join synergy together and fight this particular fight once and for all.
Okay. All right, let me come back to Bishop, and that will be your final take on the show. What do you think is the way out? Strike has been part of our curriculum, like Comrade Stephen said. What is the way out?
The way out is for the government to be sincere and believe that the insecurity, the money they are using to fight insecurity, that some of them go to the pocket of individuals, so to say, that is in public domain. If they are sincere, they should know that when you keep students at home, you are already funding insecurity from the back door. And they should look at the future, that even their own children, just like Chief Awolowo said, that when you send your children abroad, you train them and all that, the untrained children that you are using their own money to take care of your own children. We are already seeing it now, that even a general had to be flying on aeroplane because he cannot stay inside the train because of insecurity. All those children, the number of children, out of school children in Nigeria is about 50 million. It's not an issue to the federal government. It's not an issue. And I think that the government of yesterday took care of the area of education, where even the Amajiris and all the rest of them were given schools so that they can. What has happened to those schools now? Because those who came on board, they don't have the vision of let us educate these folk. When we do that, we have already secured a better future. That education is not about tribe. And the man that came on board is not from the disadvantaged state, so to say. When they say educationally disadvantaged state, it's not from there. But he saw that when you don't take care of these people, they are going to become a problem for anybody becoming president. I think the federal government should pull out. You can't be in court and you are settling matter. You cannot be doing out of court settlement and you are in court. Okay. It's not possible. The government should come out as a father for ASUU and sit down and look at the matter holistically. And I think ASUU also should see reason, because I think one of the problem of ASUU is that, like he rightly said, they didn't carry the student union along. And don't forget that this government, if you have looked at it, you see that every organ that will stop this government must always be split. It is this government that come on board, and the Nigeria Labour Congress became two. It was tactically done so that the increment of the fuel, there will not be cohesion, there will not be collaboration to fight the government. And that they have achieved that. If you look at NAS now, NAS is now factionalized. Why? The government has hand in it to make sure that there will not be voice. Before, you don't expect students to start talking now. We expected students to start talking from March. But you see the docility, you see the quietness, and at the end of the day, they factionalize them so that when they are talking, they will be talking from both sides of their mouth. Because if the students are united, this strike will have not gotten to this level. Because there are few things that students can do in 3 days that the government themselves, if they go to the Abuja airport and stop those who are flying by air, and they know that they can't go by road because they have not secured the road. It's only we, the masses, that pass the road. It is them that fly like a bird. You remember our president flew for almost 1 year of his tenure. Okay, Bishop. But we expected the result of that flying eagle up and down to have effect on our economy. Today, the dollar is 770 naira per dollar with all the campaign that time. So I feel that the government, my own is the government should be sincere. Okay. And ASUU themselves, they are harvesting what they did through INEC this to bring people on board. They have brought people on board now. They kept the lion in the house, and the lion is mature now. He's now using those who kept him to be the breakfast. Okay, thank you so much, Bishop. Comrade, I'm afraid we might not take more reaction on the show. We have the next segment, which is supposed to kick off now. Thank you so much, Bishop, for coming. Thank you so much, Comrade, for coming. Okay, we'll quickly take a short pause. Honorable Asemuta is actually standing by, and Honorable Cesar Mosale. They are both standing by to join us on the next segment. Don't go nowhere.